The television series Flipper made an international star of the dolphin. With its permanent friendly smile, the dolphin soon became a highly prized public attraction.
It was known that this mammal could quickly develop a close relationship with humans, that it was particularly playful, if not mischievous, and that the artificial lifestyle in a pool enabled it to be trained as easily as a dog or a chimpanzee. After providing entertainment for tourists, the dolphins' games ended up intriguing scientists who set out to study their hydrodynamic shapes, their method of propulsion, their sonar system, and even their system of vocalization.
For the purposes of this documentary, we have put a dolphin through the scanner in an attempt to elucidate the animal's astonishing abilities. The extraordinary capacities of dolphins have astounded more than one scientist. It is, in fact, difficult for us to imagine their lifestyle of sound and weightlessness. Who has never dreamed of possessing the agility and fluidity of the dolphin? If we humans really want to swim with the ability of dolphins, we must go back 55 million years in time. We must then set off to conquer the oceans like the dolphin's ancestor, a small mammal known as the mesonyx. It had to accustom itself to its new environment without abandoning skills acquired during a long period of terrestrial adaptation. 40 million years of evolution enabled its nostrils to be repositioned on the top of its skull, its hind legs to be transformed into a tail, and its forelegs to become fins.
One of the reasons we're studying dolphins is that I really do consider them the absolute premier swimmer in the oceans anywhere.
Terry Williams of the University of Santa Cruz in California compares the physiology of dolphins with that of humans.
Okay, Robin, are you ready?
Ready.
This plexiglass dome linked up to a computer enables the measurement, as in an exercise stress test, of the lung capacity of whoever is inside.
Good job.
When we look at metabolism for a swimming human versus a swimming dolphin, the metabolism of the dolphin is very, very low. We might take in 500 milliliters in a single breath. A dolphin, several liters in a single breath. A dolphin might breathe 4 times a minute, a human 14 or 15 times a minute.
In a single breath, the dolphin renews 80 to 90% of its oxygen. Another special lung feature, the dolphin's respiration is voluntary and perfectly controlled thanks to its blowhole. When humans hold their breath, they must battle against the instinctive urge to breathe. It's a subconscious autonomic reflex.
If we compare how much oxygen is in the body of a dolphin versus a human, what we find is that the dolphin might have 2 to 3 times as much oxygen in its blood and almost 10 times the amount of oxygen in its muscle.
Its muscles, saturated with oxygen, enable it to reach speeds of close to 40 kilometers per hour despite the resistance of the water.
Skiers today have widely adopted it. It demands less maintenance than a motorboat, and for the price of a few fish, it can, without any obvious effort, take you towards adventure or to the bottom of the sea.
So Robin, I can feel the difference here and up here on the dolphin in terms of just the tension in the blubber. Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so the blubber in this part of the animal, especially down here in the caudal keel, is a lot different than the blubber up here. It has a lot more fibers in it, and it's actually designed to be a spring for the animal to increase the efficiency each time it takes a stroke through the water.
So we have giant tendons basically acting as a spring back here, creating the power for getting the animal to move through the water. It's cool.
We found that the tail of the dolphin was extremely flexible, and not only the base of it, but that if you actually look at the flukes, they bend quite a bit. And all of that adds sort of an elastic element and allows the animal to just get that much more power for every single stroke.
What is most astonishing is that despite their speed, dolphins create very little turbulence when they swim. Like the bow of a ship, the dolphin's nose plays a hydrodynamic role that allows it to split a path through the water. The dolphin's supple and malleable skin is another hydrodynamic asset. When the dolphin swims at high speed, water flow is disturbed, creating turbulence. The dolphin is able to create micro-deformations in its epidermis. Turbulence is thus absorbed, and the water flow becomes parallel and constant once again. All these features have made dolphins the uncontested masters of gliding.
If you look at a surfing dolphin, and they appear to do it just for fun, their heart rate actually goes down in the course of surfing. We did the same thing for humans and looked at their heart rates, and it turns out that the heart rate of a surfing human is almost 200 beats per minute. It goes just through the roof. So opposite directions in terms of the physiological responses to surfing between a dolphin and a human. You know, for dolphins, one of the questions is always, why are they swimming so fast? And part of it is just simply to catch up with all the fish that are really extreme swimmers also. So they are fantastic hunters when you think that every single day they have to eat maybe 25 kilos of fish.
With all these hydrodynamic qualities associated with its complex cognitive abilities, the dolphin has been able to develop quite sophisticated hunting techniques. These rare bottlenose dolphins use their air bubbles to gather mackerel into a group. Then they force the fish to swim in a circle, and little by little they reduce the diameter of the school. When the group of mackerel is sufficiently compact, the dolphins can just help themselves. Another environment, another hunting technique. In the shallow waters of South Carolina, tertiary dolphins gather together to push fish towards the shoreline. They're prepared to risk their lives to capture small fish by voluntarily beaching themselves. Charging at their prey, the dolphins create a wave that sucks up the fish and deposits them on the shore. There's still no explanation as to why dolphins systematically choose to beach themselves on their right sides. Not far away in the waters of Cedar Keys in Florida, fisherman Frank Cox has observed an even more astounding hunting technique.
In 1990, I was fishing in Cedar Key. I usually carry my video camera with me, and I found some dolphin feeding on a school of fish in a creek and videotaped the behavior. And I then sent a copy of the videotape to Professor Connor at the University of Massachusetts. And subsequently, Stephanie Gosda, one of his students, saw the tape and decided to come here and do research on the behavior that was filmed there.
I estimate there are about 200 dolphins in Cedar Key that live here year-round. However, there's only two groups that I've found so far that do this behavior. One group has 3 dolphins, and the other group has about 6 dolphins. So we're talking about a handful of dolphins out of the total population of Cedar Key dolphins that do this behavior so far.
This hunting technique is handed down from generation to generation within a very confined group. The behavior of these dolphins is therefore very difficult to observe, and one day is not long enough for finding the right group of hunters.
This behavior is definitely surprising to me. It was not what I was expecting necessarily to find when I came here. It's just something that we've never seen before, so it is a big surprise for a lot of people. Is that them? Is that them?
That's them. That's them.
Oh, can you stop the motor? So there's that dolphin. It just did some tail slaps.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
it-
he's circling. See?
Yeah. Wow, look at all those fish.
Look at the fish.
Oh my God.
Oh, they're catching them.
Whoa.
Look. Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
So what do you think's going on, Stephanie?
Well, okay, see the dolphin right there that's doing the tail slap? I
Right.
think that we're looking at two different roles here. So the driving dolphin is the one that's
Oh.
doing the tail slap.
He's like a quarterback on an American football team.
Yeah, exactly. And the
okay.
non-drivers are lining up like this. And so
Right.
the driver drives the fish in a circle.
Okay.
And by the time he comes back here, this is when the fish start jumping out of the water.
Ah, I see. So they each have a specific role in the feeding
Yeah,
task.
exactly. The role specialization that we see here indicates that there is some kind of higher intelligence. You can only find division of labor with a role specialization in the bottlenose dolphins in Cedar Key, the African lioness, which is on the plains of Africa, and also in humans.
Still in Africa, and more precisely in Mauritania, humans and dolphins have managed to combine their hunting talents. During the mullet migration period, the Imragen fishermen gather on the beach. The men hit the surface of the water to imitate the sounds made by mullet. The dolphins arrive and push the prey towards the shore. No one knows how long the Imragen and the dolphins have been cooperating in this way. The mullet find themselves trapped between the dolphins and the nets of the fishermen, and everyone's happy. When the day of fishing is over, the Imragen thank their hunting companions in song. However, it is the song of the dolphin that interests Jim Nolman, who has his own techniques for attracting dolphins. This American composer went to Monterey Bay in California to give a rather original concert.
I like to use the mandolin because it has a higher pitch than a guitar, and the dolphins are higher pitched than the animals I usually work with, so using a mandolin just makes perfect sense to me.
Jim Nolman tunes in to the frequencies of dolphins between 100 and 200,000 hertz to obtain a musical response.
Yeah, they're really making great sound here. You know, I've worked with wolves and birds and many different species. The thing that you get from the dolphins is you get a strong sense of intelligence and interaction. The birds will respond, but it's not so clever and it's not so sophisticated, in my opinion.
To be able to emit sounds without consuming too much oxygen, dolphins must produce sound in a closed circuit. 3 pairs of air sacs of different shapes and sizes are positioned around the nasal duct. The passage of air from one sac to another creates sounds, like the sharp sounds that a child makes when deflating a rubber balloon. Dolphins have 2 categories of sound emission, one for communication composed of whistling, clicking and creaking, and another for their sonar system composed mainly of clicks. Mark Fisher records Jim Nolman's improvisations and transcribes them into sound curves that resemble graphic artworks.
And the heavy lines are the overtones of the
The heavy lines here are the dolphins, and the
straight lines?
The straight lines are the actual notes that you're playing. They're a little bit dimmer, a little bit less correlated. That's the only difference between
and
the
I love
brightness.
it that the dolphin was able to slide up to the note. Let me watch a little more.
In his own way, Jim Nolman has managed to establish contact with dolphins. Despite the large amount of more or less serious research carried out since the 1970s, humans have never succeeded in communicating with dolphins. Today, scientists are beginning to understand certain structures of dolphin communication. But can we really compare dolphin whistles to words?
If you study animal communication, people often look for the same structure as in language. So what does each whistle mean, and what kind of word is it, and how can I make these into sentences? But this may not be how dolphins communicate. There are other ways of communicating, and it might not be the best way of looking at things. Music, for example, is another way of communication, and there you have a lot of notes that express maybe some emotion, but it doesn't carry the same amount of information as maybe the same amount of words.
At the University of St Andrews in Scotland, Vincent has demonstrated the existence of acoustic signatures in dolphins. These might be compared in a way to the first and family names of humans.
One reason why dolphins have signature whistles and a lot of other animals don't seem to have them is that they live in a very different environment. In the water, in most marine environments, you have very limited visibility. Also, you have a lot of background noise. And so the dolphins really need something that makes them stand out against this background noise and makes them recognizable to the other members of their group.
As we have seen, the sounds emitted by dolphins are produced directly in their skulls. They're therefore not articulated. Consequently, it's impossible to see underwater which sound signature belongs to which dolphin. Yet Vincent has found a solution.
We have 4 different microphones that we're going to use. By having some microphones a little closer to the dolphin and some a little bit further back, what happens is the dolphin makes a sound. And the sound comes to the closer microphones first, and then just a little bit later, just milliseconds later, to the second microphone. And with these differences in the time when the sound arrives at the different microphones, we can then work out where a sound was coming from.
The dolphin sounds identified in this way are then analyzed in the laboratory.
So in this upper panel here, you have a recording of the same dolphin when it's separated from its group. And the whistle is always the same. I'm going to play this for you. So the dolphin always repeats the same melody. It's always the same modulation. If you take 2 other animals now in the same situation, this one down here, for example, if that's isolated, it sounds like this. And this third animal sounds like this. So you see that this modulation pattern of this whistle is different in all of them, but it's always the same within one animal when it's away from its group.
Is this like the human name?
In a way it is, because dolphins are able to copy whistles of each other. So this dolphin, for example, if it's looking for this guy, can make this whistle and then address that animal in the wild and try to find the other one. So that's very similar to how we're using names. But in many ways it's not like a human name, because these aren't given. The dolphins make them up themselves. And also, of course, names carry all kinds of other side effects like cultural meaning in humans, and that's very different as well.
Here's an example of a typical exchange of sounds between several dolphins. The signature whistle of one member of the group is reproduced by the others. The dolphin with this signature has thus introduced itself to the group. Does this mean that the notion of individuality exists among dolphins?
An interesting question, of course, is whether the dolphin has a concept of identity, whether it has an idea of self. One study that we're carrying out at the moment is to try and see whether a dolphin can actually have a kind of mental representation that's independent of whether it hears or sees a dolphin.
It's in a Dutch dolphinarium that Vincent Yannick attempts for the first time a very complex experiment never before applied to dolphins. He wants to know if on a screen a dolphin is capable of identifying which of two other dolphins has emitted a signature whistle. The experiment's ambitious and can only be set up step by step.
First, we got to teach the animals to actually match a stimulus to another one, and so that's why we do the matching to sample with objects instead of dolphins.
Once the first training phase is finished, Vincent Yannick displays the image of a single dolphin.
The first behaviors we've seen in front of the screen when there's another dolphin there is actually that they show some kind of aggression towards it. So we've seen jaw claps and we've seen them blowing bubbles, which can be signals of aggression.
Even though this experiment is just beginning, the dolphins' reactions show that they can interpret purely visual information. Vincent Yannick's work is extremely promising. The proposal of a concept of identity in dolphins will enable a better understanding of their highly complex social interactions. One of the world's longest and most important studies on the social behavior of dolphins has been conducted by biologist Denise Hertzing off the Bahamas. Every morning, she gathers together all the members of her team for a briefing session. Over 20 years, she's been able to identify and recognize entire families of dolphins over several generations. A dolphin can be identified by marks on its body, and in particular on its fin and tail.
We've been working in the Bahamas for the last 20 years, studying a resident community of 200 Atlantic spotted dolphins and 200 bottlenose dolphins.
Spotted dolphins are highly social animals, and their age can be determined by the number of spots they bear. These are two important advantages for Denise Hertzing's work.
Even though the Bahamas is actually still one of the best places in the world to work, especially underwater, because you could see what the animals are doing and hear what they're doing when they're doing it, it still is the wild and it's still the ocean. We work out at sea for 5 months during the summer, which is actually hurricane season, but it's the best weather. But we still deal with storms, squalls, murky water sometimes. But when it's good, it's good. And when we can spend an hour or two with the animals a day watching their natural behavior and observing what they're doing, that's what it's all about.
Oh, dolphins! Dolphins, Pete. There's a group like 100 yards. Dolphins! Dolphins, you guys! Starboard bow! Dolphins, you guys! Dolphins? Yeah, there were dolphins. All right. So that's the one in the scar.
The really important framework for interpreting their behavior, too, is knowing the individuals, tracking them every year, knowing their relationships and their family histories. So that's the framework for the society that I use to really try to understand their behavior and get a sense of what their lives are really like and how they use those big brains.
Once the photographic identification has been completed, it's time to enter the water.
Okay, dolphins, starboard side, clear to go. Maybe port side. side, back here. Right here, starboard side.
Dolphin social structure is a bit different probably than some of the classic structures we think about. They seem to have a fission-fusion society, so the relationships are, fairly fluid and changing. Yet they have these long-term relationships, mothers and calves, juvenile groups, but they don't seem to have an alpha individual, for example. My sense of it is that it's more age-driven, that whoever's one of the eldest in the group probably has the most knowledge base, tends to call the shots in a situation where they're traveling, for example. About 15% of the time when we see dolphins, we see mixed species groups with the bottlenose dolphins and the spotted dolphins. And about 60% of that time, they're doing affiliative behaviors like traveling, socializing, babysitting each other's calves. But about 35% of the time, they're fighting. They're working out their relationship. And it seems that the bottlenose have kind of a dominant relationship over the spotteds. The bottlenose are about 3 feet larger, so they're physically larger and they're physically able to sort of bully the spotteds. Now, the two species can be fighting, and if a third-party intruder comes in the area, such as a shark, they'll immediately stop their fighting, gather together, cooperate, and chase that third-party intruder away. So they have it's a really complex relationship.
The reaction is not individual, it has become collective, and soon the whole group will be there to block the intruder. To relieve tension, dolphins, just like humans, may resort to very sensual touching.
Dolphins are very sociosexual. They explore their sexuality at a very early age. And for them, it's very social. It's about bonding. It's about learning those social rules. It's not unlike the bonobo chimps that also have, female-female, male-male, female-male sexual interaction. It's about social structure.
As in humans, copulation is not performed solely for the purpose of reproduction, but is an actual pleasure-seeking activity. This pleasure is enhanced by skin that becomes highly sensitive, so that the slightest pressure variations can be detected when the dolphin moves at great speed. Their weightless world has also enabled them to develop a true system of body language.
Dolphins don't have facial expressions like primates. They don't have little eyebrows and little smiles on their faces that they can change. But they have big body postures. They have changes of intensity of their acoustic signals, for example. These are all signals we use. I can speed up my talk if I'm excited. I can yell at you if I'm angry. And those are kind of universal concepts that seem to maybe cross species boundaries that communicate, fear, anger, those sorts of concepts. So they have a lot. Well, dolphins have had a long history with interacting with humans. I think dolphins are really smart and complex, and they understand probably intelligence, certainly in their own species, but I think dolphins also recognize intelligence in other species. One of the big questions about dolphins is what do they do with their big brains?
Diana Rice of the New York Aquarium has come to join Laurie Marino at Emory University in Atlanta. They're both studying the cognitive abilities of dolphins. The dolphin's brain, like ours, is the result of a long period of evolution. Are the size and complexity of its brain signs of great intelligence, or simply due to the presence of a complex system of perception adapted to the aquatic world?
This is the brain of an adult bottlenose dolphin. And this is the brain of an adult human. And the first thing you notice about these brains is that they're both massive. In fact, the bottlenose dolphin brain is much larger than the human brain. And they're also very highly convoluted, which means they have a lot of grooves in them for packing a lot of neural tissue into the head. But what's interesting is that although these two brains are very large, that they're organized so differently. So for instance, the human has a highly elaborated, massive frontal lobes. And in the dolphin brain, no frontal lobes.
That's particularly interesting because humans and the great apes who've shown behavioral evidence of mirror self-recognition seem to do that processing in the frontal lobes. And now we have bottlenose dolphins who also show that they can recognize themselves in a mirror, yet they don't have frontal lobes. So I wonder, where is that processing happening? I wonder if they have something functionally equivalent to frontal lobe.
Diana has had a mark placed under a dolphin's chin to study its reaction in a mirror.
The dolphin that's been marked came right down to the mirror, and he's been marked under his chin, and he immediately exposed that portion of his chin that was marked to the mirror. And it's interesting because the unmarked dolphin is hanging back and is not exposing himself to the mirror at all. Now this is interesting because it looks like the dolphin is putting some distance between himself and the mirror and then spotting the mark. Spot and spot and spot. And this is very similar to what you would see in chimpanzees or humans under the same context.
Humans and dolphins are capable of recognizing themselves in a mirror, although their brain structures are different. Dolphins show us that there are alternatives to the development of complex forms of intelligence. Laurie Marino has calculated the ratio of the size of a dolphin's brain to its body weight. From this, she has derived a coefficient, the encephalization coefficient. She then compared it with other species, including humans.
Humans have brains that are 7 times bigger than what you would expect for our body size. And the second most encephalized group on the planet is not the great apes, the chimpanzees and orangutans and gorillas that are closely related to us, but rather some dolphins and porpoises with brains 4 to 5 times bigger than expected for their body size. Why do dolphins have big brains? Well, that's the $6 million question, and that's what I'm trying to find out. I think that it probably has something to do with their level of sociality, their social complexity, as well as the complexity of their communication system. What's important about comparing human brains and dolphin brains is the fact that they are two separate examples of large, complex brains. They still give you a model for how you can arrive at the same mental capacities, the same level of intelligence, in a sense, through two different paths. And you can extrapolate that to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence or astrobiology.
It is not on the planet Mars, but in Hawaii, that Michael Hyson and Paradise founded an association, the Sirius Institute, a mystical movement centered on cetaceans. The first evidence of the human-dolphin relationship is extremely ancient, dating back to 15,000 years before Christ. Today, the dolphin has become a new age animal and messenger of peace.
One of the reasons I feel like it's better to send dolphin whistles and whale songs out into deep space is because all these years we've been sending human songs and human words out there through our radio, our television, and all kinds of our communications things, but we've yet to hear back. So maybe we need to send something else out, something that's maybe even more universal than human sounds. And that's one of our motivations for sending dolphin sounds out into space.
According to the Sirius Institute, dolphins are spiritual guides that enable us to reveal the dolphin within us. Suddenly, man becomes dolphin, forgetting that he has descended from the ape. This is more a question of self-knowledge than knowledge of the animal. The dolphin is humanized and even deified. Many believe that dolphins bear a message, but what this message is and how it will be transmitted remain to be discovered, perhaps by sonar. The dolphin's ability to probe its environment is fascinating. Are they also capable of probing our souls? Will humans receive the dolphin's message by telepathy? This is what the members of the Sirius Institute believe.
How is it? Did you see the dolphins? Awesome. Oh, it's amazing. What kind of visibility? It was a lot of dolphins. Yeah, sonaring everywhere. I could hear it. Fantastic. Yeah, you can feel it in your saccules, you know, like, those are usually atrophied in humans, correct? Right. Yeah, when you swim with dolphins a lot, you can feel them starting to get activated. And I swear I was getting images from the dolphins and telepathic communications, and I had experiences where I thought, oh, why don't you touch me? And then they would touch me right away, and it's like it just confirms over and over and over again when you swim with them so many times. It's like they can hear you. Yeah.
I feel it's important for a woman to give birth with dolphins because, first of all, laboring in water makes it all very much easier. So that's the first thing. The presence of the dolphins, because of their radiation, their vibration, their comfort in water, obviously, all enhances the well-being and the connectedness between the child and the ocean, the water, the creatures of the water.
Dolphin sonar is a complex tool that can be compared to the medical ultrasound scan, which enables a fetus to be visualized in 3 dimensions on a screen. As in the dolphin, the ultrasound apparatus emits ultrasounds and analyzes the echo to define the shape and anatomy of the fetus. However, it is nowhere near the perfection achieved by dolphins. They are capable of distinguishing the internal structure of objects or living creatures with even greater precision. It is difficult for humans who use mainly vision to imagine the perception of dolphins. Unlike ultrasonography, their sonar system does not reconstruct an image. Dolphins don't need one. They directly analyze the information provided by sounds. This is another mode of mental perception based on a complex acoustic system. These small fish think that burying themselves in the sand effectively protects them. Since the dolphin's sonar is able to detect them, they are in fact an ideal prey.
That echolocation is not just a passive sense where you sit and you go, and you look and you hear. It's touching with sound. You reach out and you're investigating and you're interacting with the environment with sound. And I think that's a very good analogy. We have hands, we interact with the environment with our hands. They interact with their environment with sound. All of the things that happen with echolocation, the production of the click, the listening to the echo, and then the production of another click happens very, very rapidly. It just is the matter of, you hear it as just a bzz, and all of that is happening at just a tremendously fast rate. They have huge nerves, they have huge neurons, they have a very big brain. I think much of that has to do with things just going very fast.
Dolphins do not learn to use sonar overnight. During the initiation phase, the young dolphin positions itself underneath its mother. Certain scientists believe that this position allows the young dolphin to detect in part the echo from the sounds the mother emits. It then understands that she's using her sonar to locate prey. So the young dolphin learns mainly by imitation. It is time to carry out the first tests. First of all, the young dolphin must learn to interpret the echo of a small fish buried in the sand. It probes and tries to memorize the sound shape of its prey, to distinguish it from other elements on the sea floor, such as rocks or shellfish. This is not an easy task. Paul Nachtigal is a specialist in cetacean echolocation. He works at the University of Hawaii with the help of the kina, a false killer whale and member of the dolphin family.
So, Paul, where exactly are the sounds for echolocation produced?
The sound echolocation click is made in some sacs that are way down in her blowhole. So she takes that air in and makes the clicks down in the blowhole.
And then what happens?
And then she directs those sounds down through the front of her forehead. Right underneath there is a big acoustic lens made of different fats and oils. And the acoustic lens makes a nice sound beam that produces a pencil beam of sound that comes right out the front.
If we're talking about hearing, what does she hear this with?
Originally, her ancestors heard with ears like we have, and you can see a little dimple right here.
Okay.
And that's where her ears once were, her ancestors' ears were. But she, in fact, hears with her whole head. One of her sound paths is right down here in her lower jaw.
Now it looks like there's kind of a pad there.
That pad is a nice fat pad, and it's a good acoustic medium for sound going up into her ears, or her actual ears are way up inside of her head. What we're doing is we're very interested in knowing what the dolphin hears while it's echolocating. The trainer applies the little suction cups on the head and the back, just very simply applied with a gel, and the whale goes in.
The target, a brass cylinder, is placed behind an opaque tarpaulin.
And she rests in a hoop. The whale produces her echolocation clicks. If the target's there, then she comes up and she hits a little ball, and she gets her fish for hitting the little ball, saying, "Yes, I see your target." The whale hears the big booming outgoing signal about that well. She hears the little quiet echo about that well. So she dampens her outgoing signal, she magnifies her little quiet echo. She controls what she hears.
It is as if the dolphin was able to close its ears slightly at the moment of emission of the powerful click of echolocation, and then to open them wide to receive the weak signal of the returning echo. Dolphins can become very sensitive if a very loud sound is emitted during this period of amplification of the echo. There are three main sources of unusual sound emissions underwater: boats, military sonar, and oil drilling. The strength of these sounds can disturb the systems of perception and orientation of cetaceans. This may explain the mysterious beachings of marine mammals. Despite the risks of being in shallow waters, this completely disoriented dolphin persists against all logic in its dangerous approach to the shore. Without human intervention, it is heading for certain death. Now it has become separated from its group. Dolphins may become isolated, either by accident, by exclusion, or more rarely, by their own decision. They are known as solitary dolphins, ambassador dolphins. In Ireland, Jan Plug was saved from serious depression by an ambassador dolphin known as Dusty.
I won't say that the dolphin healed me. If the dolphin had anything to say there, he showed me how to heal myself. And it was especially the recognition that a wild creature chooses to spend time with you, and that you feel, like a whole human being again.
For more than 4 years, Jan has followed Dusty along the Irish coastline. They have come to know each other well. The dolphin is essentially a social animal. It is therefore difficult to offer an exact explanation for the isolation of solitary or ambassador dolphins, especially in such well-structured species as the Terciops. But for Jan, swimming with Dusty is a pleasure so intense that it has enabled him to escape his manic depressive tendencies. To be even more in symbiosis with his friend Dusty, Jan equips himself with a monofin and has made himself dorsal and pectoral fins. Intrigued by this new species, Dusty agrees to take part in a veritable aquatic ballet.
We do maneuvers together, and sometimes we are totally in sync, that we do exactly the same things, and well, you could call that a kind of a body language. We understand the conditions that we're in, and we handle those conditions in a similar way, and this results in a magic combination of movements. I think Dusty is alone because she either's been thrown out of the group because she was too clever, or she chooses to be outside the group herself because then she can develop her own thoughts and everything. And but I think the emotional blueprints, that's well the build of the dolphin, is that she needs some sort of intellectual contact or even an intellectual challenge, and she finds that in humans, and that's why that's the only species that is well slightly comparable in intelligence to dolphins. So I think that's why she chooses to be with humans. The term ambassador dolphin is not a term that I invented, so I can only explain what other people mean with it. And it means like of the Society of Dolphins, there is an ambassador who represents the species of the dolphins, and it comes to us and has a message. And the message usually is that we foul up the oceans and we foul up the whole earth, and we should stop that.
Although humans and dolphins do not share the same environments, science has shown us that we have abilities in common. It is time for Jan Plug to return to the human world and leave Dusty to his mysteries. 40 years of scientific research on dolphins has not yet enabled us to penetrate all the subtle secrets of their complex and fascinating way of living. The dolphin retains an unknowable quality, as befits a legendary animal.